Hey
Okay.
everybody, welcome back to the Show and Tell Show. It's us, Genevieve and Nahani from Huronia Museum, and there we have Jan and Nicole from Penetanguishene Centennial Museum. So you threw out last week to us the challenge because in celebration, June 21st was National Indigenous Peoples Day, and happy National Indigenous Peoples Day a few days late. So what do we have from our collection that celebrates our Indigenous people and culture in North Simcoe? Genevieve, what did you bring out of our collection for us? Oh, no, we don't. No, you challenge.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Yes,
Wait a minute.
it's
Penetanguishene
turn.
Centennial goes first because they challenged us. I've got it.
And Nicole is sharing for us, so take it away.
All right, so for us, I think I gave you an easy quest as you are the Huronia Museum in the Wendat Village. But for us, for the Penetanguishene Museum, I do have some moccasins here. And so these we don't have, as heavy of a collection of Indigenous artifacts that you have. But what we do have, we don't have a lot of information about our history. We know that these were purchased in Northern Ontario. That's all we really know. And they were purchased in the 1950s. So they're not that old, but we don't know when they were made. But one of the reasons I picked them is because of the beadwork on it. And as you can see, it is flowers. And I also have another artifact here, also with flowers,
Beautiful.
flower beadwork. And these are really lovely white gloves that were also, they came with the same donor brought these as well. And the reason I show those is because one thing Penetanguishene has is a very high percentage of Métis in our area. And so we talk about Indigenous Day, we're celebrating First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. And the Métis in our area came originally from Drummond Island. That's why sometimes we call them the Drummond Islanders. Drummond Island is in Michigan, and it was a group of First Nations, predominantly First Nations wives who were married to fur traders or voyageurs. And they usually traded a lot with the British military naval posts, and there was one in Drummond Island. And after the War of 1812 and around 1822, they actually gave a new border line between America and the United States. America and the United States, Canada and the United States. And a lot of people say War of 1812, we won it. Yes, we won it, but we did lose some land. And one piece of land we lost was Drummond Island. And if you look at the map, it looks kind of funny because it's a little island close to Mackinac, and it kind of, the border kind of goes whoop like this and down. And that was them taking Drummond Island. So everybody on Drummond Island who was used to working with the British post there was sent here to Penetanguishene in our naval and military establishments. And then a lot of these voyageurs and their wives also followed suit and came to this area. And that was the beginning of our Métis population here in Penetanguishene. And they settled across the bay along Penetanguishene Bay. That was the land they were given. So they were their own community. They were their neighbors because their fathers generally were French and their mothers were Cree. They sort of developed their own language and their own culture. And a lot of that was sort of between French and European and the First Nations. And so one of that was when it came to their beading, they incorporated a lot of floral beading into a lot of the work they had. So when you look at this, you assume it is First Nations artifacts, but they could have been Métis because of the floral beading we have. And we find that a lot of the artifacts that we have in beading is that floral design that was probably more from our Métis community than from our First Nations. And so that is the artifact that I have for today, or the two artifacts.
Very cool. I'm just making a note of something I want to look up later because that's something we do, right? We're like, oh yeah, I'm going to look that up later. Okay.
That's the thing is today there's about over 12% of our population identify as Métis. There probably is more because that's those that identify on the census as Métis, and that is much higher than the provincial average. The provincial average is about 2%, so it's much higher in our area.
Very good. And we have a very active Métis community locally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, check out, you can check out their website, and they have so many amazing projects, especially cultural projects where the entire community can come in and learn history, culture, just share and make some new friends, which I think is the awesomest thing about these active organizations, right? I think that's great. Genevieve, what do we have over at Huronia Museum? I know we have a lot. What did you pick out though?
What did you choose?
What I'm going to talk about today is corn. So corn was originally domesticated about 9,000 years ago in south central Mexico, and it spread down through the rest of Central America into South America. It ended up as far south as southern Chile, spread up through North America into Ontario. So by about the arrival of Christopher Columbus in 1492, there were about 150 different varieties of corn in North, Central, and South America. Now, Christopher Columbus took the corn that he found in North America, I guess you can say, brought it to Europe, and it spread from there. And you find by the mid 16th century it's popping up in Italian paintings like these two by Giuseppe Arcimboldo, who liked to paint portraits with fruit and seeds and vegetables. And you can see this portrait right here, that a ear of corn is making up the ear of the sitter. This one as well, there's a cob of corn right there. And what's interesting is that all the fruits and vegetables that he uses in his paintings are to scale. So this cob of corn is not the size of a cob of corn that we've got today, which is maybe about 8 to 10 inches, but it's about the size of your ear. So what I brought in today, now archaeological evidence indicates that by about 700 to 900 AD, corn was being grown here by, I guess, Iroquoian groups in Ontario. So I've got, what I have here is a cob of corn. This is a cob of corn that was found at a Wendat village site called Wiachak. So the corn cobs, this is about a late 13th to mid 14th century site. So you can see just how much, I guess, the corn has increased in size today. But what's interesting is that the corn cobs themselves are really small, but the kernels are the same size as they are today. I didn't bring any of those in because you can imagine those, but this is a typical, So anything that you see hanging from our longhouse today is definitely not the right size. But anyway, that is a 14th century cob of corn.
Wow.
Wow, I had no idea.
I know everybody thinks corn looks the same, right? And
no, it's immeasurably grown. And it made up about 65% of the Wendat diet. They would usually dry it, harvest it. They did eat some green corn, but they mostly harvest it in the fall, as we do late summer, early fall, and dry it and then grind it to make kind of a mush, like a soupy mush, which they'd add foraged vegetables or herbs, whatever they can find, meats and fish to make something called sagamite. So that is the 17th century, not 17th, sorry, 14th century
That-
corn.
That was
14th
really
century.
interesting.
It's like
Really
the little baby
interesting.
corns that you see when you order
Yeah.
Chinese.
They are.
Yeah,
Chinese food.
yeah.
Although
But they have those
I
ones have the tiny kernels.
Yeah,
Yeah,
The ones
you
you see in
do.
Chinese food, right? They do
Yeah.
have the little wee kernels.
yeah.
so,
I've never seen this artist work before either. That's
he's
Incredible.
wonderful. He did
yes.
paint regular stuff as well, but he is really well known for this kind of his portraiture, which is so much fun.
That is awesome. I've seen those before, and I'm glad you could bring them into connection. That's awesome. So, we have a challenge for you for
I was
next
thrilled
week.
when I noticed.
What was that? Oh,
Oh,
we're good. Okay. So, challenge for next week. We were chatting last week, and I came to the realization that between the four of us, 4 women who've worked in museums, for some of us, the balance of our lives, between the 4 of us, our collective years adds up to the number 100.
Wow.
So Jan, was in here with 23. Nicole, you young spring chicken, you've been with museums for 19 years. Genevieve, who I met working in a museum so many years ago, 25 years, and I am in year 33 of working in heritage. We add up to 100 exactly. Isn't that incredible?
Wow.
So I'm thinking we need to celebrate ourselves, celebrate women and working in history and keeping history safe and strong. Let's do something with the number 100 to celebrate ourselves in our show. So
Okay.
something connected to the number 100. I'm sure we have something in our collection.
I'm sure.
Okay. I think that's pretty impressive. 100 years
That's really
between all of us.
neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
really aged us, though.
I know. Okay, whatever, spring chicken. 19 years.
Oh, that's
Imagine
starting
it,
to be
19
fine.
years. But 19 years as the lowest number is really impressive.
It is really impressive.
Yeah.
You know, it is really impressive when you think about how jobs change, like with our generation now, how many different industries people usually work through. 19 years is pretty significant, right?
But museum people are a culture of their own, you know, like
I have
It's
always said it's
not
not a
everybody
job,
can work in a museum.
it's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
Oh, for
It
sure.
is a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see everybody next week for our topic of number 100.
Oh.
All right. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
And